Rocks and ash erupting from El Popo, the biggest explosion in this giant volcano in more than 70 years. 30 miles away in the heart of Mexico City, a groundswell of popular opinion which could wreak one of the biggest changes in Mexico's political landscape in 68 years of PRI rule. Still angry after the 94 peso crisis and tired of a party accused of widespread corruption, the Mexican people seem determined to vote for change. Cuauhtémoc Cárdenas, a left-wing former presidential candidate for the PRD, looks set to sweep into power as Mexico City's first democratically elected mayor. He'd inherit a sprawling, polluted and crime-ridden city and may have a tough job living up to his supporters' expectations. But analysts say victory would give him a national platform, something which could alter the ruling PRI's behaviour in the run-up to the 2000 presidential race and erode the influence of the so-called technocratic elite.
We will see little by little a move to what one might call the left, but I don't think it will be a radical or a dramatic move.
The PRI might also lose its majority in the lower house of Congress for the first time ever. Here it's the right-wing PAN which offers the main challenge to the ruling party. Analysts say a divided Congress might make lawmaking more difficult, but wouldn't lead to complete gridlock.
Both the PAN and the PRD know that it was in their best interest to show that they can govern, that they can be in government and that they are responsible and they can get things done.
The biggest change of all, though, could be a maturing of Mexico's nascent democracy, with these elections likely to be the cleanest in the country's history. An independent electoral institute will oversee the vote count, taking it out of government control, again for the first time ever. Nevertheless, the opposition is still wary of what it calls the old guard of the PRI and certain primitive state governors.
All of them don't want a country with a democratic system. They have a very nostalgic vision of the country. They want to have all the control of the power, all the money in their hands, and I'm afraid about their behavior in the day of the election.
At the political extreme, a tiny rebel army stands by in the mountains of Oaxaca.
De acuerdo a lo que el pueblo en un momento dado nos pida.
If the people ask for our help at any time, we will support them. We could do so politically, or we could also do so militarily.
President Cedillo's moves to open the political process may not have completely satisfied his opponents, or some of his own party members. But here in the main square of Mexico City, campaigning has stopped and things are calm. The hope is that people's anger with their leaders can be expressed peacefully and democratically, without any explosion. Simon Denia, Reuters, Mexico City.
Well, Simon Denia joins us live from Mexico City now. So, Simon, fill us in, what's the latest?
Well, the results, Kathleen, are still being counted. The votes are still being counted in Michoacán. And the latest results I have show the PRI with 38%, as I said before, but the PRD just nudging into second place with just over 29%, and PAN won 28.8%. That's still a very respectable showing, though, for PAN. And a lot of analysts here are saying already that PAN has done really very well in these elections overall, even though it didn't win the governorship of Michoacán.
And what about markets? What's the reaction been?
Well, the markets are obviously very interested normally with elections in Mexico, the process of democratization, and it is good news, analysts say, that these elections passed off relatively peacefully. But at the moment, people are really talking about the peso. They're talking about interest rates, which, as you said before, rose 575 basis points this morning, and that's really what's on everybody's minds, people looking to see whether the Bank of Mexico will intervene again in support of the peso as it did last week.
President Menem has emphasized that we should keep the same plan that he started in 1899.
Okay, finally then, if you see the need to deepen the reforms, what will your priorities be in terms of further reform of the economy? And are you prepared to fight for those reforms? Dr. Cavallo had many fights with Congress and with the cabinet to push through what he believed in?
I think that, yes, I will fight, but let me qualify the way fight. I will fight for consensus. I will fight to convince the people in terms of what I believe that are the most reasonable track for the Argentinian economy.
First of all, how concerned are you about the recent rise in interest rates that we've been seeing, and won't that undermine your efforts to solve the banking crisis in Mexico?
Mm-hmm. Well, we think that the rise in interest rates is a response to market nervousness, and it's the way to deal with it. Obviously, to the extent that markets are reassured that the government or the central bank, the monetary authorities are acting to stabilize the markets through the use of interest rates, this should be a temporary phenomenon. Because we feel, of course, that inflation is coming down, and inflation expectations are also leaning in that direction, so we believe that this should be a temporary rise.
Hello and welcome to our weekly special report on the world's emerging markets for Reuters Financial Television. I'm Simon Denia. The headlines: Czech Prime Minister Václav Klaus announces an economic recovery program. But is it enough to save the crown from further selling? Indonesia votes in general elections after the worst violence in Java in 3 decades. And in Mexico, a left-wing leader is making a comeback. We look at Cardenas' chance of winning Mexico City's mayoral race. Currency traders push dollar mark above the 187 level as they throw down the gauntlet to the Bundesbank. German industrial production increases 1.4% in June versus the 1.5% drop in May. And President Yeltsin announces that the ruble will be redenominated so that 1 new ruble will be worth 1,000 old ones. Hello and welcome to this World Markets Briefing from Reuters Financial Television. It's Monday, August the 4th. I'm Simon Denia. Well, the dollar is on the up again, moving above 187 marks for the first time in nearly 8 years. Analysts say the market is testing the Bundesbank's resolve to put up money market rates to stem the mark's slide. Well, dollar gains have been less marked against the yen, with more talk of higher Japanese interest rates by year-end, while treasuries have recovered slightly in London after Friday's slide. Tara Joseph has all the details of this morning's European action. Tara, what's the latest? Hello and welcome to our special report on Mexico's economy for Reuters Financial Television. I'm Simon Denia. Well, Mexico stunned the markets yesterday when the government announced figures for GDP growth in the second quarter. The Mexican economy expanded by 8.8%, the fastest pace for a single quarter since 1981. Most impressive was strength in the services sector, which grew by 7.7%, propelled by a recovery in domestic consumption. Well, it was the domestic economy that had suffered most during the Mexican financial crisis that began in December 1994. The increased economic activity far exceeded market expectations. And by Tuesday morning, investment houses HSBC, James Capel and Interacciones revised higher their forecasts for Mexico's year-end growth. Well, Mexican asset prices have held firm despite a currency turmoil that's rocked Southeast Asia. Also, analysts say the Federal Reserve's decision today to keep US interest rates steady will extend the flow of international capital to Mexico. But questions remain as to Mexico's ability to sustain its torrid pace of growth, particularly if the peso retains the strength demonstrated so far this year. Right now, the peso is trading at 7.5770 against the dollar. Well, after the data's release yesterday, Deputy Finance Minister Martin Werner said that Mexico's challenge was to consolidate growth and avoid the experience of past crises. Well, to discuss Mexican GDP and the country's economy, we're joined by Martin Werner from our studio in Mexico City. Hello, Martin, and thank you for being with us today.